Hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tuber. Welcome back. If this is your fourth Matlock Season 2 episode review, hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe out there in the big old world. I apologize for this very long delay. Sadly, some things have happened in my personal life, and I was not able to get to the cadence of a regular schedule as promised. We had to delay a couple things, but for the better good. But yeah, no, so we're back. It's going to be a little bit of a rough schedule as I transition back to more of a cadence. I won't specifically say what has happened, but I will say that certain things that I was kind of hoping maybe would be a little bit more delayed is now moved up the calendar. So sadly, that will adjust the schedule, which we'll talk more about at the end of this video. But with that being said, going into this week's Madlock, I found it to be very fun. I don't quite think this definitely continues the trend that we've been on the last three episodes. Definitely, like I was alluding to in the end of the last episode review, that we were kind of already we were in the middle now. We're in the meat of the season. And that means sometimes, we're just focused on carrying on the story in very unique manners. And that's all we can really do for the time being, as we progress through the larger story in hand, seeing what twists and turns we have left and what direction they want to go in. And I think this episode was just a perfect example that we are continuing that story. We are progressing through it a little bit by a little bit. We still have our case of the week. We still have the larger themes at play, a little backstory then and there. And honestly, you know what? It makes for a very solid episode of Matlock. Again, not every episode has to be these, review defining, it's the oh my god, the newest best episode of the show. It doesn't always have to be, as long as the quality remains the same. That's all I really care about, and this episode reminded me of that. And being a few days removed from its original premiere day, not being able to watch it live, gives it a little bit more of that extra punch and a little bit more of the resonance as we kind of begin to start to continue to kind of restroke some of the original gaps that we were kind of not being aware of from the first season. But at the end of the day, we are still progressing. We very much are. And it kind of again proves to show what are the advantages and what are the definite pluses that this year is going to bring to the table. And this being kind of like the first episode of many of it, I think we're in a very good direction so far with it. But with all that being said, let's go through the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of Matlock. So we begin with Maddie and Olympia having this internal squabble. It's a turn debate. While they're finally on the same path, they're going to try and take down the senior. They're going to follow Olympia's plan, and hopefully they can find something of merit. It's not without its bumps, because as of right now, yeah, Maddie and Olympia don't trust each other. The first three episodes of the season kind of proves that, yeah, these two might still have a little bit of a cadence of being friends, but they don't trust each other right now. They lost that trust. Even though it was Maddie that was kind of, deceiving Olympia, it was also Olympia also trying to take advantage of things with that as well, with everything. So it's like, neither one of them can really trust the other right now. So they're trying to make a compromise, trying to make a set of deals, because again, even though that they're on the same path, doesn't mean they have the same methodology, the same direction. And at least from what Olympia's kind of catering to is that, okay, look, you may not trust me, I don't trust you, but we need to find some way. And Maddie's giving some fair examples and giving some fair comparison. We're getting a parallel with the case of the week, where I believe it was a construction worker, an oil rig worker. I don't remember the background of the case, but the wife of a deceased is suing the parent company because the parent company did not properly evacuate him, which gave him a much more lesser chance of escape and survival. While their counsel is very much just telling Olympia, yeah, look, by that time period, there's some specific cadence, and it's been many, many years since that incident, and where we are saddened by the loss of one of our former employees, we shouldn't have to pay out for something that's being claimed so far away. So, even getting a very small, generous package should be something to equate for. But of course, Olympia is not, falling for it. She definitely thinks that there's a possibility they can get even more out of it once they take their asses to court. And he's like, okay, you want to take it there? Let's go. Let's head over. And meanwhile, Maddie in Olympia's camp, they do agree, okay, well, we need to reestablish trust. We don't trust each other. Maybe we're scheming. We're figuring some of the other things out from the other. So for the time being, we are going to be completely transparent with each other, which means we're showing each other our phones. We are giving each other more case of clue words, where like even conversations that the other is not privy to, the other is recording it. They're finding all these mannerisms where like not only are they progressing their case, but also they're just trying to reestablish a little bit of trust in each other. And at least they're more than willing to do so, considering the fact they do make for a good team. Is just sadly the larger cadence kind of prevents that, you know what I'm saying. So from there, I believe we go over back to the matter of the firm. I believe I'm not forgetting anything of detail. Where yeah, so like I said, the case of the week is a wife suing her former husband's her deceased husband's employer because they did not justifiably get him out in time before a massive flood hit the area, which resulted in his death. And Olympia's going to be really keening in on her emotional fallout from it, trying to get some sympathy points with the jury in hopes that they can potentially win this case just based on emotional distress, and hopefully said and done on it. Billy's kind of intensifying his due diligence as a father to be, as his Claudia and him are about to have their first real sonogram, and to be able to finally see the baby for the first time. So they are progressing very quickly on it, and Sarah's just trying to make do with the larger sort of law fam that they kind of developed by conducting this shared calendar, so they can keep track of Billy's activities and everyone else's activities. I guess it's Sarah's attempt of trying to keep the family together, even if like certain things are not exactly perfect between them, that they're able to still kind of maintain that same season one energy that we were going for. Then from there, I believe we come over. I bet we go back to the regular household, where Maddie and Edwin are just kind of just talking through things again, just about life and everything. I believe Maddie does talk about the matter at hand with the case of the week until Augie interrupts him and says he wants to make an effort to try and bond with his dad, like seeing what are his interests and hobbies, maybe trying to connect with him while he's in the middle of rehab. And again, Maddie does kind of let him know, hey, just letting you know that he is still going for rehab. It doesn't exactly mean he's going to get through it. It's still a very long process, a very long weaning process. 20 years on the substance is not easy to get rid of overnight. There is definitely a cadence that he might fail. It's possible. It's not just because like Maddie wants to go against him. It's because she's just presenting the facts that that it's just very difficult. The longer you had a substance in your system, it's not guaranteed to work. And then let's give Maddie a flashback to her and Edwin's time, when they found that they're going to be grandparents. That Ellie is going to give birth to Alfie at the time, and that they're gonna have to deal with the fact that do they really trust her? Is she really off the drugs? And even though obviously of course we're told this, that just follow the guidelines of the doctor. It doesn't matter anything else. They know the best to get your baby as healthy as possible. And they're concerned that maybe she's gonna relapse and Alfie might be affected by it, and that's a cause for concern for them. At that time period, they were planning the baby shower for her, as she claims that, the baby's my anchor now. He is my whole reason for getting off the drugs, making sure that I am sober, that I'm going to be straight and narrow for him. But of course, there's a lot of precautions that they have in the air, considering the fact this isn't the first time. I believe it's been 7 years since she's been on substances. So now in her cadence, can she really be trusted with that? That's a big old question mark at that time period. Julian has been demoted to IT proficient. No, he's not demoted, but as Senior's latest attempts to embarrass his son for kind of being a little bit of a, what's the word, a bit of a pain to him, personally speaking. Julian's going around the entire firm, reaching out to every partner, every associate, and making sure they're in compliance with the new tech system that they established, in hopes to minimize any future leaks. And Julian's just kind of being a little bit annoyed by it, but he does have a moment to talk to Olympia, saying that, hey, I mean, at least we get to move forward, as now that the leaker is gone. She's kicked out of the firm, and now she's been blackballed. That it's over now. They can finally move on with their lives. And Olympia's like, no, not quite yet. I mean, really think about it. She confirmed the Reddit leak from almost 14 years ago, and you're telling me that in that time frame she never told anyone else about it? Like, you gotta be open to the fact that this might not be over, which of course Julian starts to contemplate, what does she really mean by that, so to speak. I believe we do hit to the court, And Olympia's about to prepare her battle plan to utilize the wife's grief against the jury. Sadly, the defense does argue the fact that her emotional state should provide no context in this case, considering that we were focusing on the facts. If we're just focusing on a grieving wife, then every freaking case would be win by default. Everyone's going to grieve over their lost spouse. That doesn't take away the fact that there still needs to be factual evidence to prove that the prosecutors claim that, hey, your client, your firm, your employees failed to really notify my particular client's husband about, hey, there's a flood coming, there's a storm coming, we need to evacuate everything. So sadly, the judge does rule in his favor and does dismiss her claims to court. And it's a little bit of a bad dubbing of ADR, where you hear her, so I won't be able to be heard there yet. Nah, it's not really wasn't a good mixing on them. Sadly, Matlock team, sadly. So from them, they have to research a little bit of ways. Now going through former employees at the time, former heads, and see if there's anyone that could be squealable to kind of get some sort of direction out of them. Won't be easy, but they're working through it. Maddie is also on the verge of connecting with the potential lover at the time for Senior, the one who went with him to Australia, and hopefully to gain some information about the Brexit matter. She is now still a makeup artist right now, so Maddie has booked an appointment to get lammed up. And yeah, Maddie's like, okay, you're gonna go back undercover, literally under disguise, so to speak. We meet the proficient makeup artist, who's very bubbly, very unique. Let's just say that, and Maddie's definitely using this to her advantage to connect with her. Learns the guy that she was in Australia at the exact same time as her, trying to do as much connecting as possible, which actually does work. But every time Maddie does bring up, oh, who was your beau? Who was the person that you went to Australia with? She's like, she always painters the subject somewhere else. But definitely, she does get a little bit of a buy-in. So Maddie does set up a karaoke reunion for the two of them the following evening, so that the two can reconnect their energies, this time forming a brand new, beautiful friendship, I guess. With their reconnection, so to speak. So yeah, so from there, Maddie reports back into Olympia, showing up in her getup, and I'm like, yeah, that is a very heavy amount of makeup. Not gonna lie, not gonna lie about that. That's a lot of makeup. Olympia squealing for a bit, then they act like friends for a little bit. It's been a while since these two just got to giggle as friends without any consequences. But Maddie lets her know that yeah, she's gonna have to take some personal time tomorrow to go prepare for this karaoke thing to hopefully garnish the facts that they need to pursue forward with this direction concerning Senior. I believe we do have the first trial day. I forgot exactly what had happened, but I believe they were just, which sadly I can't quite remember to see what exactly was said, but Olympia's team does not get any sympathy points from there, as they're kind of digging the case up from a legal perspective. Sadly, this guy's really good. This other prosecutor, he's very charismatic, very down to earth. Even if he represents a very shady company. Not gonna lie about that. I believe Sarah's also concerned about Billy's potential future with the firm once he becomes a father, as of course becoming a newborn dad is not exactly an easy adjustment, especially when you're in the field of law. Even if his wife, well, Claudia, let's just say, no putting labels on them right now, turns out to be a stay-at-home wife. Because I don't believe we have much context on her career choices. He's still not going to be around for the baby, and he probably wants to spend time. Which again, that's why I said when we began the season, I'm pretty sure this was an easy out just to prepare him for that. Regardless, maybe they'll move up the timeline. Who the heck really knows specifically? But but Billy is kind of concerned and puzzled by Sarah's actions, the fact that okay, no, chill, we're not even close to there yet. We were only at best a couple months into the pregnancy, where we're still not even 7 months away from it. So we still have plenty of time to figure out all those details as we get closer. I believe from there, Maddie shows back up to her house where Edwin and Alfie are laughing at this, very hilarious guy. Alfie bringing another possibility of connection with his dad. Maddie getting triggered in her flashback where she does go to the first ultrasound for Alfie when he was just very much in the womb. And again, it seemed like Ellie's fine. She seems to be on the mend, and she does have kind of a very fun baby shower plan at a karaoke bar. because that's kind of where she feels more comfortable with, even though Maddie's a bit concerned, like, okay, you may be off drugs, but alcohol, especially is something you don't want to be around. And, just obviously they're concerned about this, but she's just saying, look, relax, it's okay, don't worry, just let's just enjoy this day. Let's just enjoy when it comes. Um, so I believe we do cut to the next day where Maddie's, taking more of a personal day off just to focus on the karaoke day. Olympia and the team are just trying to figure things out. They do find a weak link that could give them a little bit more insight to this, which they do lead to the original boss, the previous boss for the deceased, and he does admit that yeah, he's a bit of a perfectionist. He doesn't let anyone else go home until the station is fully checked, and then they go home, just to ensure that the quality control is there, which that's what he's going to say. I'm just focusing on QC. If that means they have to stay a few minutes extra, then let them stay a few minutes extra. I'd rather them stay 3 minutes extra than ruin the whole thing. So, and this particular day, is when possibly the crumbles come in that potentially he, um, was victim at fault of not notifying all of his staff members in time to let go, and sadly he was the last one left to be checked, and he wasn't checked in the same time as the warning came in, and them's be it. Obviously that's not enough to fully classify, but it's definitely enough to kind of put some shrewd that the company didn't really have all of their employees' best interests at heart, only what the managerian wants at the end of the day. um Maddie does go to her karaoke hangout with the makeup artist, and she's wearing a very, very interesting getup. Let's just say that much. And they're bonding, they're chilling a little bit, trying to reconnect, so to speak. And Maddie's just getting more interlude flashbacks when her and Edwin were just getting ready for the baby shower, just covering all edges, making sure okay, none of her druggy friends are going to be there. There's no alcohol over there. There's nothing that could make her relapse in that specific moment. So when we get to the actual day of the baby shower, there's just some hesitation because she keeps disappearing to the bathroom. She keeps, being a little bit frantic, and obviously these are telltale signs, but, Maddie's a bit concerned by it. So by the time when Maddie and the makeup artist are up on the booth to sing, they sing the same song that Maddie sang with Ellie at the time, which sadly during that entire sing along, Maddie was looking very closely at Ellie to see if there's any telltale signs if she's using it again, which she doesn't get confirmed by it, but Ellie does get insulted by her that you couldn't even trust me that I got off the drugs because of Alfie. And Maddie said that's not it. It's just you can't really blame us for having some reservations that you kicked it. It's not something that's 1, 2, 3. Ellie obviously doesn't see the same way she does, and she leaves, which does have negative consequences, which we'll get to momentarily. So from there, I believe, yeah, so Maddie and the other finishes the song. Olympia's there to pose as just a random, bar goer, trying to get on their good side, trying to, make sure that she's also aware of any new information that comes to light, which Maddie does repush to trying to confirm, seniors' involvement, trying to get some more data out of her, but sadly she does kind of pull the plug and say, oh, I just got a call from a client. I do need to go. So, yeah, I'm sorry. We'll talk another time. And they're like, well, that didn't really go anywhere. And Maddie starts to bring up a little bit more points of when she was kind of in a similar situation with Ellie. This could bring back a lot of feelings, and it's not necessarily something that would necessarily be easy to kind of just admit to, so to speak. Which also gives Olympia a little inspiration to how to wrap up her case to a close as well. So from there, I want to say, where were we going with that? I believe from there, yeah. So they go back to the court case this time. Olivia has a new spin. They work with one of the compliance officers and admitting to the fact that that okay, the reason why they really don't want to pay him out because he was already getting to that age, he was going to be retired already. So who cares if the company didn't pay out? At the end of the day, the company's involvement with him was going to cease very soon. So why should they still be held liable on someone that's on their way out? And Olivia manages to pull the perfect twist, which allows her to get sympathy from the jury as well as factual data where on the day of his death, there was one last voice message sent to his wife, which not only confirms that he was in lower danger of dying, as well as he was still providing heavy lifting work, even at his age, still making him physically capable for his job. And even by the time the defense heard that, he's like, is there a possibility that we could return to the table? And Olympia's like, of course, but it better be a big number. And they do get that big number, and it's a win for the team. So thankfully, all said and done in that front. I believe Maddie's still trying to work her angle with the makeup artist, which at the same time Sarah realizes that Billy forgot his lucky coin from his grandma, so she runs to go give it to him. While Maddie confers with Olympia that sadly the makeup artist did block Maddie for whatever reason, and of course they notice her very questionable behavior at the bar. So it could be quite possible that maybe she caught wind of it, or maybe something she remembered. Who really the heck knows? But that's still something they really do need to explore, as that's really their only solid lead left on the matter. Which at the same time, Olivia tries to play a different hand, using Julian to try and get a little bit more information from Senior, and having a little bit more of a close to coast with the IT guy. So I believe from there, Julian does report in the matter, but we'll count more about that in a little bit. Billy is at his ultrasound appointment with Claudia, and they're going through the first looks, which of course Sarah interrupts them just to give Billy the lucky coin, and just to at least showcase how very much she's into their life and making sure that they're okay and they're doing properly. Which of course even Claudia, despite her and Billy having some disagreements in the last couple of months, let alone set of months, that they're kind of on a good path right now. So that does give them good signs for their future as parents. Maddie reports all the things back to Edwin, just kind of just walking through all this, just how short life is with the people you love, especially the person you're meant to marry, and also recapping her remorse, the fact that perhaps her actions on Ellie's baby shower caused everything to happen, her relapse and then her eventual death. So that's something that she was very concerned that did she inadvertently re-kick off her process, because it gave Ellie a sense that no one will ever trust her again, not even her own parents. And everyone tries to calm her down, say that that's not the cadence. No, it's got to be something else. You shouldn't put all of the blame on yourself on that one. Even him wanting to like dance with her to kind of calm her down a little bit, have a little couple moment. That's not until Olympia rings at the door to sadly give Maddie some bad news. Sadly, Julian did find out that there was a file download and printout, because they were looking through, I forgot her name, the one that got fired last week. They went through her computer before the wipe, and they found those records. And then that's when Julian, because we had that moment last week where he looked at Maddie very suspiciously when she was exiting the firm that specific day when everything happened. So it's like he's now believing that the two are in cahoots with each other, and he has no real doubt to kind of disrupt that course of thinking for him, which of course now Maddie's like, well, crap. So now, sadly, Julian might be on their tail earlier than not, which is where we wrap up for this week's episode of Matlock. For me, I thought this was, again, another great episode. I was very much in tune with, like, more of the flashback stuff. Kudos to the makeup team for making Edwin and Maddie look very much younger than they actually are. Kudos to them. For stuff that happened 14, 15 years ago, getting to see Maddie and Olympia kind of working in a different approach was, again, like, very intriguing to kind of, get that fresh approach. For the season, for the cast itself, and it was very much of a nice fit for the two of them, and I very much was liking that energy between them. Sarah and Billy's kind of presence in the season has been very minor so far. We haven't really gotten anything super major out of them, which actually works to the showrunner's benefit to however long this first half goes. It might end up being an easy out for them when they do the rewrites for the second half. And just in general, just focusing back on just the core relationships again, trying to see where do things stand right now with certain people, and just kind of giving more insight to Maddie's, not only mission but also guilt. It just gives her more of a weight, even if she's not able to fully disclose everything to Olympia. It does give us as the viewers more weight that the mission she is on is still pure and still trying to be one of remorse and as a form of penance, so to speak. But with that all being said, I really like this episode a lot. I cannot wait to see the next episode, which I'm pretty sure I will be able to catch in live, which I'm very happy about. But with that all being said, I'm giving this episode 2 thumbs up. Let me know down below, what did you think of this week's episode of Matlock? Did you love it? Did you like it? Let me know down below. I would love to hear your thoughts about it. But I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the second season of Matlock. If you want to know what we're doing normally on What's the Two besides our Matlock episode reviews, we do have a couple of seasonal reviews coming out this month. We do have our Nancy Drew Season 3 review coming out, I think hopefully this week. I hope so. I know I said the last time for Halloween, But we should be on track for that. We should be. We also have another one planned for later this month, hopefully in time for Thanksgiving. But if you don't care about Matlock, you're in luck. We should be back, hopefully, this weekend with another brand new episode review for you. So stay tuned until then. But again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring that bell and follow us on social media for more updates on when our next videos are live. But until we see each other again, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.